All right, everybody, welcome to your final lab. That's lab number 25. And what we're going to be doing today is just wrapping up everything that we've kind of learned. And really, I think the main purpose of this is to see what you can use these skills that you learned in your social psychology lab towards a career in psychology in general. And really, overall, what you can do with a psychology degree. So, as I said before, this is our last class, and really at this point, I would actually be kind of going around the class and I'd be asking you kind of what did you learn from this semester? What kind of things are you interested in? What is most surprising or concerning about social psychology in the research field for you? I feel like a lot of what we talked about is actually a little bit more concerning about the field, but really, I hope that what we can do with our concerning aspects of it is be better researchers for the future of research psychology and social psychology overall. And really, I'm going to ask these questions. I would normally want to have a discussion about it, but I'm just curious. Maybe you can just think to yourself, or this is discussion you have with someone at some other point. But like, how do you feel about the future of social psychology now after taking this class, or how do you feel about it in the current present state that it's in? Do you think that in the future it's going to have more of an impact, less of an impact? How do you think that the replication crisis is going to be affecting social psychology? Do you think we're handling it good? Do you think we're handling it, there's only so much we can do? It really depends. And really, I am also sort of interested in, if you want to drop me an email or something like that, I'm totally always happy to hear about, like, are you interested in continuing with research, whether it be an academic or non-academic setting after, your college career here? Because really research methods courses like this and others in this major will help you really develop a really impressive set of skills. I think this class kind of helps you to think critically about what the field is in general, and then classes like research methods and personality psychology and other things allow you those actual skills to apply those research methods while having this background of, oh, okay, I've heard about this replication crisis. How can I utilize this and make myself a better researcher? But really, these classes created this impressive set of skills that can really apply to many careers, not just those that are interested. Not just this isn't just for you people that are interested in becoming, graduate school, going to graduate schools or becoming researchers. It really can be applied to a whole set of careers. I personally didn't go straight to grad school right after graduating with my bachelor's degree and had a full-time job in a research setting. So it's totally possible to do more than just graduate school, which I think sometimes is what a lot of people tell you as a thing that with psychology degrees is that, oh, yep, that's just a general, like, you need to go get a master's or a PhD, which isn't necessarily true. And really, I hope for this class that what we're going to do is talk about some of the other alternatives to going straight to grad school. So now I'd just like to talk about kind of some of the skills that you've obtained from this course and other courses that you're going to take throughout your psychology career here at Colorado State University. So the first one that I like to talk about is project management. This one's a little bit closer to my heart because, after I graduated from my undergraduate at San Diego State University in a degree of psychology, I actually took on the role of a project manager. And really, project management is all about undertaking a research project, and which is a major, major undertaking. And there's a lot of different aspects to projects that need to be managed, requiring people to be good planners. They need to be organized. They need to be creative. They need to have good follow through. You need to be able to manage a lot of people at once too. And really, I felt like when I got out of my psychology degree, doing project management was not, it had a lot of challenging aspects of it, but I felt well prepared for it just from being going through my academic career in psychology. Additionally, part of this is that you need to be very detail oriented, which is a great skill to bring to the job, which you can obtain through your career here at Colorado State University in a psychology degree program. Additionally, problem solving skills are something that you can gain from a psychology degree here at CSU. Designing and implementing research studies require a lot of problem solving, and you can foresee a lot of potential problems with designing a research study that we hope that someone who's detail oriented can kind of get to. And with your degree here at CSU, you'll be able to kind of evaluate and select other solutions in order to implement these research studies. So really, a lot of employers kind of see this as a key skill from a psych major that they'll see, and that they say, okay, this person has got good problem solving skills because they're a psych major. So a lot of times this is a real advantage to being a psych major in the career field. Additionally, critical thinking. I think this is really just more a lot of going through college in general. It really raises your critical thinking abilities overall. However, you have to think about how much critical thinking we did in this lab. We didn't just read research articles, we questioned research articles. We set claims and said, what is so good about this claim? What other research has been opposed to this? Because we know that any research question, there's going to be two sides of the same coin that we're able to kind of support or not support a certain argument. And we have to weigh out all the evidence, which is part of the critical thinking aspect. So this critical thinking ability requires you to actively evaluate, apply, and analyze information before you pull it all together. So you can use these skills really anywhere in any sort of career field. Additionally, we have analytic skills. So many analytic strategies help to summarize and make sense of findings. I know in your research methods courses, you're going to do a lot of analytical skills, especially if you took a Psych 350 with Dr. Gibbons or Dr. Prince. Those are two classes that's a class that really increases your analytical skills. So as these skills improve, you're going to be better at drawing conclusions from your data. And data is like everything now in a lot of employers. They want someone who's really good at analyzing data and having these good analytic skills to make sensible conclusions from data. Additionally, we want you to be able to have a good interpretation of numerical information. So this goes beyond like running stats. This is like actually seeing a research study and actually understanding what aspects of it are so important. Additionally, like we know how much misinformation is out there, so being able to make sense of some sort of graph or infographic that you see on Facebook or Instagram, people need employers need people who are savvy to be able to pick up on these numbers and interpret data and interpret all these things that are really going to help out their business or nonprofit or whatever it is that you kind of work for in the future. Next, another aspect that we get from courses like the social psychology lab is communication skills. So, writing for one is a really important way to communicate, right? So that's one of the aspects that we have you write these methods sections papers so that can you communicate a research study clear? Can technical writing be something that you are good at? Being able to be succinct and straightforward is a very important skill that we kind of see with classes like these. And over time, the more you write, the more you kind of get into this headspace, the better you get at it. I'll tell you right now, like I am not the best writer in the world, but I've gotten a lot better than I was when I initially started writing research papers. But it's definitely something that we can all get better at, and classes like these help you with this because we know that it's such an important aspect in the career field. So, you got to kind of think, there's a lot of things beyond graduate school too to be an academic or to be an academic researcher. There's a lot of other jobs out there that we can kind of look into. In the next slide, I kind of want to show you some of the other things that people with bachelor's in psychology degrees are oftentimes getting. So now I just have this graph for you to see, which will show you kind of the types of jobs that people oftentimes get that have a BA or BS in psychology, which I believe everyone here at CSU is getting a Bachelor's of Science in Psychology. So there's a lot of jobs in business, in government settings, in industry that hire people with strong research skills. And you have to understand with like this influx of data, research skills are heavily relied upon in any of these services. I personally worked for a university. We were contracted with the county and contracted with the state for a long time. So we really had a lot of kind of this. I had this real academic slash government setting before, and I was able to find a full-time job with a with a BA in psychology, I'll even say. But really, it's just to kind of get at this notion that you need a graduate degree to get a job in psychology, which is completely not true at all. Um, which we can kind of see from this graph, what kind of jobs are people getting? Like, as you can see, that 38% other kind of fulfills the majority of it, but that's kind of more into these kind of government services, other sort of aspects that are, might be some sort of industry kind of job or something like that. But another good amount of people get it in health services. I think that's a really important aspect that psychology, especially with mental health services on the rise. A big thing right now is evaluating mental health clinics. That's a huge thing. I would say evaluation is one of the biggest roles that psychologists play in a lot of industry now. Is saying, is this program, is this clinic, or is this some sort of initiative, is it working like we say it is, or what can we do to improve this sort of program, initiative, or some sort of aspect of an industry? So now I kind of want to talk about, let's talk about research careers with a bachelor degree, and we'll get into kind of more some non-academic, non-researchy things you can do with a bachelor's degree as well later. But really, one of the most top things you do is be a research assistant. Now, I know that there's 4 different words here: program assistant, research technician, research support specialist. These are all really just different ways of saying the same exact role, which is a research assistant generally. So if you are going on a job hunt and you see kind of words like these are good words to kind of think about as well when you're doing your job search, so that you can kind of broaden it up and see where more industries are looking for people like you. But really, this is just kind of the starting entry level position, where, not to say that this is the end all job, it is very possible to move up in a place with starting off as a research assistant. I've seen it before. I was starting to do it at one of my jobs before I went on to go get a master's in public health previously, but it's very possible to. So a lot of what these kind of research assistants do is they kind of oftentimes support research and keep it so that it's going. So they oftentimes are the ones that are interviewing people. They might be going to participant homes to give surveys or collect some sort of behavioral observations in a laboratory or a public place. Once they get the data, research assistants oftentimes will enter and store the data, kind of manage it to some degree. Data manager in itself is its own job, but it's very possible that a research assistant can eventually be upgraded to a data manager with the right set of skills and the know-how knowledge of how to manage data correctly. I'm personally a fan of data management, but that's just me. Not everyone is into that. That's okay. But some other things that research assistants oftentimes do is they'll review and prepare IRB documents, applications if you're in a university setting of some sort, and then conduct literature searches to inform the next steps of the research process. Is a lot of what they can do. So really, to prepare for this job, you need to look for opportunities to work on research projects, starting usually at your university, particularly those that offer the chance to recruit people, interview participants, have some sort of things associated with IRB applications. So a good starting place is finding some sort of professor in a lab that's looking for help. Even if this work doesn't exactly provide you the experience needed, it's really a good resume builder. It gives you the chance to expand on your role once you're established. Like I said, that's kind of how I started. I started off as a research assistant at University of California, San Diego, and I eventually worked my way up to a project manager before going to grad school. So really, anything that will help you kind of cultivate your people skills and be useful to a lab is essential. Second, making sure you understand kind of research methods and being just kind of enrolled and kind of part of the process for a good amount of time is a great way of doing that. Just having exposure, learning about it is one thing, but actually having the exposure to an actual research process is a really big part of it. A research assistant, has to be able to follow directions well. Um, and research methods courses teach you about how to do these kind of data collections and following study protocols precisely. It's very important to follow study protocols as precisely as possible. So it's really nice to know that a lot of these skills can be transferred to other jobs, and knowing how these skills work in research studies is one that will prepare you for other jobs as well, beyond that of just a research assistant. But it's a really good start. It might be a great start for someone to start off as a research assistant in some sort of lab and eventually move on to some other career. So this next set of jobs are a little bit more my style, if you haven't been able to tell, about being the analyst and being the data manager, and the actual analyst, the one that sits behind the computer and looks at the graphs and will run the actual analyses and so forth. That's really quite the possibility with someone who has a bachelor's degree. So another option for psychology majors is, being a data analyst or a manager, or some sort of research analyst career. So really, you're taking this kind of research trajectory, right? Where you're taking the trajectory of, I want to be an analyst of some sort. So you start off maybe being an assistant to some sort of analyst, or an assistant to a data manager. This could be start off as a research assistant role, but you kind of find someone and hone on to them and say, hey, I want to learn some of your skills and so forth, like that. So um, sometimes these jobs are just research assistant jobs, but they just have more of a data analyst approach to them, that you are kind of more expected to run these certain analyses. So, you know, these jobs involve managing data, including making sure the data is collected and entered correctly. The data analysts themselves will run statistical analyses to answer actual hypotheses and prepare reports, which to me is just the most fun part of it all, honestly. Just creating these reports and answering actual hypotheses is ridiculously great. Maybe not for everyone, but for me it is. Another really fun aspect of this is that it often requires you to work with stakeholders. Now, if you don't know what a stakeholder is, a stakeholder is essentially just someone who holds, and it's really, I'm just redefining the word for you, who has some sort of stake in whatever research you're doing. So a stakeholder can be a whole bunch of different types of people. Like, we have multiple groups of stakeholders oftentimes. Like, if I'm working with youth, oftentimes the stakeholder would be parents, or the education system. One of our primary stakeholders with Campus Connections here on CSU campus is the juvenile justice system, because they oftentimes want people to not be in the juvenile justice system. Of course, they want less youth in the juvenile justice system, or providing youth an alternative to the juvenile justice system, in a way to try and keep them off the, um, giving them good, kind of good mentorship, so that they won't, go down this life of, bad crime, or anything like that. So working with the stakeholders, from the principal investigator of the study to community partners, you'll also work with, and oftentimes you're trying to determine how to make the data and the analysis meet the needs of these stakeholders. So to prepare for this job, you probably want to have an interest in computer science or statistics. That would be pretty helpful. Taking more statistics or computer science or health informatics, or even database management classes would kind of give you those skills. So um, you'll want to make sure to get experience with statistical software such as R, which is my personal favorite, SPSS, or SAS. If you ever want to talk statistical programming languages, I'm all about it. I know pretty much all of them except for probably Stata. I think is the only one I don't really know. And I would love to have a conversation with you, just to talk about, the ways to increase your skills in that way. So typically you'll need some experience to look for, you'll need some amount of experience. So look for internships at your school or an industry where you can actually practice these skills in the classroom. Um, um, I'm sorry, practice these skills that you learned in the classroom. Working as a research assistant after graduation is another option, but we'd really encourage you to kind of try and seek out these skills while you're in um, in school right now, because it'll just help you overall in the future. But you know, it's never too late to try and find some sort of internship or some sort of skill, or utilize your skills in an industry setting. It's really great. So another really awesome job is being a research coordinator. So a research coordinator essentially oversees the operations of a study, and they supervise research assistants and data analysts and ensuring that timelines are met and deliverables are such as reports and presentations are completed. So if you are a timely person, if you are a detail-oriented person, this is the job for you. And let me tell you, I was a research coordinator for a little while before I became a project manager over at University of California, San Diego, and this job was invigorating. I thought it was so great. I oftentimes actually miss it at times. I've tried to take a research coordinator position a little bit more with my current job, and let me tell you, it is a great job. If you are into making sure things research is done and done correctly, this is the job for you. Um, they oftentimes make sure study procedures meet federal and state regulatory guidelines. Some may work on IRBs or just manage people to work on the IRBs. That's also pretty great. They'll manage, applications. Um, you know, these positions, this is also kind of a research manager position. You can be a project manager and a research coordinator kind of at the same time. That's kind of what I was over at University of California, San Diego. It really depends on, the vast amount of projects that are part of whatever organization you're working for, or if it's just one particular project will determine how many different project managers and research coordinators there are overall. So if you are interested in becoming a research coordinator, seek out opportunities to lead research projects while in college. So this can start as a research assistant, but then eventually you might get into a point where you're kind of managing other research assistants at some point if you've been there a little bit longer. Doing a senior thesis is a great example of a way to show that you've actually kind of coordinated a research study in some way. Um, so I will be honest, it takes several years of experience as a research assistant or data analyst to seek out opportunities to kind of lead projects for organizations, and supervise people for their work. But it's totally worth it because this is a great position to be part of. I personally had to be a research assistant for the same organization for probably close to about 2 years before I was upgraded to becoming a research coordinator position. And that's just the honest truth of it all. However, I could have seen myself maybe being a research assistant for organization at one point and then moving to another organization and trying to become a research coordinator. It really just depends on what it is. But these are really fun jobs. You feel a lot of great work doing what you're doing. You have a great opportunity to kind of mentor as well, which is a really great fun thing. If you can't tell, I've got a lot of passion for this certain position in particular. I was one for a very long time, and I really enjoyed it very much. So research coordinator, great job. So now we're going to go into another aspect, and I got to be honest, I haven't really used my psychology degree for much more other than actual straight up research skills. But what I can say is that there are other jobs out there that are not research. And I want that to be clear to people that oftentimes go into psychology thinking, oh my gosh, I don't want to be a researcher. There's definitely a lot of other jobs out there being using your psychology degree that aren't research. You have to keep in mind that the art and science of persuasion is a major topic in psychology, which is why advertising agencies often find you as a career choice for people. I often find people with a bachelor's degree in psychology as kind of this prime choice for a career. So, career in this field often involves researching the target audience for a product or a message, and developing an advertising materials based on this research. So, if you're interested in a career in this field, look for ways that you can gain practical experience now. Again, I know this is going to be repetitive, but internships are just an excellent way to get experience, finding professional mentors. I would also say that building networking relationships is your field. Go to the fairs, talk with people that are in some sort of agency that you're interested in. Say, hey, I have a psychology degree. How can I be of help to your organization? What have other people had? What kind of experience have other people had that were entry level positions at your um, organization or industry or anything. So people working in the field of market research. So kind of moving down to this market research aspect of it. So it is kind of a research skill, right? But this is in a different kind of field. So people working in the field of market research perform a variety of tasks, including conducting the interviews, performing opinion polls, collecting data, and interpreting results. So a bachelor's degree in psychology prepares students for the works in this. And it's kind of great because you, in these other fields, might have some sort of advantage over other people because you have these very rigorous scientific methodology. You're able to kind of take in other fields of work and kind of look at it, especially in terms of what we learned in this psychology course, the social psychology lab, about questioning the research methods behind other research campaigns and seeing what worked, what didn't work, and evaluating that as well is also a very important aspect that you can bring to the field. So most of the jobs that I've talked about kind of previously are more of an academic route. Most of the research positions I talked about before can be found at universities, maybe a community college. Nonprofits are a huge place to find jobs for research settings. So it's always important to just make sure to check, job listings across these places to look for and you can look things in non-psychology departments as well. It's very possible to transfer these across department as well. Don't feel like you're stuck in psychology just because you have a degree in psychology. I know many people who work in a completely like in the public health field. There's a lot of people who have psychology degrees, and there's a lot of people in the public who have public health degrees that kind of work in the psychology degree. So with the psychology department, vice versa, and it all kind of works out. Um, but if you're going to take this non-academic career path, it's important to kind of narrow down your skills and kind of talk about what you enjoy the most. Create a resume of your skills that demonstrate experience. And then, another thing is also using the Career Center. A little thing about me, I love resumes and I love CVs. I love looking at them. I think they're super fun. So if you ever want to send me your resume or CV or something, I can kind of give you some pointers. I've gone to the Career Center many times before. I really enjoy, talking about it and how to list your skills. What's the best way? Some sort of formatting is also a huge aspect. You should really make sure you tailor your resume to whatever job you're doing. So every resume you submit to a job should be slightly different in some way. But some of the other kind of non-academic career paths, like I said, mentioned, nonprofits are a huge place for psychology degrees to get. Government agencies are often looking for research analysts or data managers to be, so be sure to check for federal, state, and local, that means like county and city government organizations, to look for jobs. Yeah, and there's so many jobs. USAjobs.gov is a great place to look for jobs for government positions, and there's a lot of other websites out there as well. I mean, even things like Indeed.com will show you government position jobs as well. Private industries usually employ research assistants and data analysts as well. So you may have to initially, contract with them or have do part-time work before finding a permanent full-time position. It's a little bit different with government positions, really different. But regardless of which path or industry you choose, good preparation while in school is crucial. So that's, actually using these classes and listening in, of course, and using critical thinking and finding internships when possible is usually the best thing to do. And finally, there's always the opportunity to go for a master's or doctorate degree as well. Of course, you can always gain advanced formal training and research, and there are more opportunities available the more skills you have. And if you get a PhD, I want this to be clear, that doesn't mean that you need to be a professor. There's a lot of other positions available for people with doctorate degrees that are not academic professor positions. People have really great research careers with PhDs in, non-academic settings. This is government positions. Oftentimes, nonprofits really work for this as well. So keeping that in mind, that just because you're going for a higher degree doesn't mean you're stuck in academia your whole life. And additionally, I will say that some of these positions that we were talking about before, like for example, project managers and project coordinators, that are a little bit easier to obtain if you obtain a master's degree first. However, it's not completely impossible. Like I said, I was a project manager with just a bachelor's degree before as well, but that also takes, kind of years of experience, usually with the same organization. So keeping that in mind, that there are these, you can always go up for another degree, but there's always a lot of other career opportunities available for bachelor's in psychology degrees as well. And that just about sums it all up, folks. Thank you so much for being a great class and turning in everything. Let me know if you have any questions. You can always feel free to reach out to me in the future. My email address should be neil.yetz@collegestate.edu for a while. Otherwise, my personal email address is ndyetz@gmail.com. You're more than welcome to reach out with me with any more questions if you want to follow up on anything, of course. As a reminder, your final paper, the methods section paper, is due Wednesday at 11:59 p.m. So that's May 7th at 11:59 p.m. Feel free to reach out with any questions, and thank you so much.